All right, so you've got this brilliant project idea, right? But then you realize your trusty Arduino Uno just isn't going to cut it. Well, today, we're diving into the solution for that exact problem, the Arduino Mega 2560. This is the board that basically says, forget limitations. It's time to build those huge, ambitious projects you've been dreaming of. You know that feeling, right? You're deep into a project, everything's clicking, it's going great, and then, boom, you're out of pins. It's gotta be one of the most frustrating things, where your creativity just slams into a wall all because of a tiny physical limit.
You know, this is a super common roadblock for pretty much every maker out there. Your project starts simple, but then it grows, and suddenly it's got way more sensors, more motors, way more code than a standard Uno can handle. And just like that, you're stuck. So, where do you go from here? And this is where the Mega just flexes its muscles. Seriously, look at these numbers. This isn't a small step up. It's like ditching your go-kart for a high-performance race car. We're talking 54 digital pins instead of 14, 256 kilobytes of memory instead of 32, and 4 hardware serial ports instead of just 1. It's a whole new league. Okay, so this is where our hero of the day swoops in to save your project, the Arduino Mega 2560. It is the solution to all those limitations we just talked about. It was literally built for those bigger, beefier, more demanding projects that make other boards sweat. And there it is, the board itself. People call it a souped-up Uno, and you can totally see why. Just look at it. The sheer number of pins lining the edges, it really does look like an Uno that's been hitting the gym. And right in the middle, that's the atmega 2560 chip. That's the powerful brain behind the whole operation. So what exactly puts the Mega in Arduino Mega? Well, let's break it down. I like to think of it as having 3 distinct superpowers. First, a ridiculous arsenal of pins. Second, a brain with a massive memory. And third, the ability to have multiple conversations at the same time. Okay, I know this diagram can look a little intimidating at first glance, but don't worry about that. Think of it less like a complex schematic and more like a treasure map. Every single one of those labels is a new door opening for your project. We're not going to go through them one by one, of course, but just take a second to absorb the sheer scale of options here. Let's kick things off with the most obvious difference, the pins. I mean, just look at them all. So how many are we talking about? A few more than an Uno? Nope. You get a whopping 54. 54 digital I/O pins. That is a massive jump. But what does that actually mean for you, the builder? Well, it means you can finally tackle projects that were just impossible on a smaller board. Think about it. Controlling dozens of LEDs for a massive light display. Connecting a whole suite of different sensors. Driving multiple motors at the same time for a complex robot. That's the kind of freedom 54 pins gives you. Okay, next up, let's talk about the brain of this thing. Because the Mega doesn't just have more connections, it's got a lot more thinking power. We're talking about 256 kilobytes of flash memory. To put that in perspective, that's a full 8 times more space for your code than you get on an Uno. So what can you actually do with all that extra room? Well, you can write way bigger, way more complex programs. You can handle really sophisticated algorithms and logic without ever worrying about running out of space. This is the kind of memory you need for the heavy lifting, like the complex math behind a 3D printer or the smarter logic for an advanced robot. And last but definitely not least, let's talk about communication. This is a feature that people often overlook, but it's a huge deal. And Uno has one way to talk to other devices. The Mega, it has 4. 4 separate, dedicated hardware serial ports. And trust me, that's an absolute game changer. Think of it like this. It's like your board can have 4 different phone calls going at the same time without getting any of them mixed up. So you can have it talking to a GPS module, a Bluetooth device, and be sending data back to your computer all at once, no problem. And because these are hardware ports, not some software workaround, it's all super fast and reliable. Okay, so we've got a ton of pins, a huge memory, and amazing communication skills. But these aren't just abstract numbers on a spec sheet, right? These features come together to power some of the absolute coolest and most ambitious projects you see out there. Let's take a perfect example, 3D printing. A 3D printer is this incredible dance of precision. You have multiple motors moving perfectly in sync, a heater that has to maintain an exact temperature, and it's all being controlled by incredibly complex code. It's a massive undertaking, and the Mega is basically the go-to brain for the job. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The official Arduino team themselves point out that the Mega has the power to process those complex algorithms required for 3D printing. That kind of intense calculation is exactly the sort of thing that would completely overwhelm a smaller board. Another area where the Mega just shines is advanced robotics. I mean, think about building a robotic arm that has like 6 or 7 different joints, or a walking hexapod robot. Projects like that need a ton of inputs and outputs, and that's where the Mega really steps up. Here, it's not just about the processing power. It's about having enough connection points. The docs put it perfectly. The large number of I/O pins can accommodate many robotic sensors. That's how you build robots that can actually perceive and react to their environment, the ones that can see and hear and feel. Okay, so we've seen just how powerful the Mega is and what it's capable of. Which brings us to the most important question of all. Is this the right board for you? So, for real, think about your current project. Are you constantly feeling boxed in by the board you're using? Are your ideas just getting too big for the hardware you have? If you're nodding your head right now, yeah, it might be time to level up. Here's a really simple checklist to help you decide. Are you running out of pins? Is your code getting too big and you're running out of memory? Do you need to talk to multiple serial devices at the same time? Or are you planning on building something big, like a 3D printer, a CNC machine, or a really complex robot? If the answer to any of those is yes, then yeah, the Mega is definitely what you're looking for. And that really brings us to the final, most exciting question. When you take away those physical limits, when you're not worried about pins or memory anymore, the only thing holding you back is your own imagination. So what are you going to build when there are no limits?